Hey friends, Kim from Stamping Imperfection. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm here for day 23 of Inktoberfest 2021, and today I'm sharing with you how to create a perfect rainbow blend. And I'm actually going to make 3 tags. You can decide which ones you want to make for your collection. But I'd like to start first by just talking about a few things that I think you need to do to make perfect blends of any colors. First of all, these manila tags that we're going to use today make beautiful blends, and they are wonderfully smooth, so they're the perfect tags for creating swatches. And I highly recommend going ahead and using extras or getting an extra package of those just to create different blends with your inks to see what blends you like. I've also swatched all my inks. I find this really helpful. I always stamp a solid stamp. I stamp a polka dot so I can see what it looks like mixed with white. I use an aqua pen and do a little watercolor on there, and then the bottom one is an ink blended version so I can see what it looks like ink blended. And I did punch a hole in there so I could label my re-inkers. I like to have that hole because then I can really see how it looks when I match it to another color. So the ink swatching I highly recommend, and I also highly recommend creating tags with different ink blends so you can see what ink blends you really like to play with. So the tags are wonderful. That's what I'm going to do all my ink blending on today. I am going to use a combination from the Neon line, Roller Skates, Acid Wash, and California Love. And I'm going to do those because I love the soft, light blend that I get with those. And I am only using 3 colors. I'm also going to use my Distress Oxides, and I am going to change my mind about which oxides I use. This is Candied Apple. I am going to use Blueprint Sketch and Mustard Seed instead of the 2 I have in my hand there, just because I wanted some brighter colors. Now, one tip, paper matters. When you do this on paper rather than these manila tags, you want really smooth paper. The go-to paper is Bristol Smooth paper, which you can get almost anywhere, and you can usually wait to find it on sale somewhere. I love the big paper pads because I can get a lot of card fronts out of one page. The other paper that I can recommend to you is the Maker Forte Perfect Blend paper. It has almost a really pretty sheen to it, so it's really nice. I'm super tempted to try this with my alcohol inks to see how they work on that. I haven't done that yet, but I think that would be a fun experiment. But that's also a nice paper to blend with. Now, there's lots of blending tools that you can use. It's a very personal decision which one you like. I still pretty much use my old wooden handle ones with the foams. I like the rounded foams, but mostly I still prefer the flat foams. I've been using this tool for quite a while now, and I like it. I also like that I can have a different foam for every ink pad, and I have a little piece of Velcro tucked on the bottom of the Maker Forte inks. Have a nice little skirt, so it gives you room to tuck that under, and so do the Distress Oxides and the Distress inks. They have that little skirt. You can put a piece of Velcro. Perfect storage system. You don't have to come up with anything fancy to store your foams. These tools are fairly new. I got one of each size. I basically have like 6 of those wooden handles that I use. I don't have a ton of them, but I got one small one of these and one large one just to see if I liked them. They did blend beautifully. However, I didn't think they were very cost effective. Even if I got just one per color family, I would need like 11 of each size, which would require storage space in my craft room, and I don't have room for that. So right now I'm sticking to the handles. I do love the brushes also. They give you beautiful blends. I do feel like using the brushes, I have to clean them off more. So I take them to my sink, I put some Dawn dish soap in my hand, and then I just scrub that on my hand while the water's running, and just like that. And I keep scrubbing until all the color comes out of the brush, and then I rinse the brush so all the soap comes out of the brush. And then I just will like put it over a jar or just sit it on my craft table. And I do always do bristles down. I haven't had any trouble with the bristles getting damaged placing them on the craft mat, so that's good. Now, if you use distress oxides to blend with and your dye inks to blend with, you really should have different blending tools for each one. I know there are people who say they've never had any issue with it. I definitely have had issues with it because when I first got them, I didn't think about the fact that that oxide had some pigment in it and that it would affect the brush as I went from red for oxide to red for dye ink. So now I have separate, I just stick to the foams and I have separate foams for each thing, so I don't have to worry about it. I also have done my ink blending with daubers. This is a jumbo dauber. I usually use just the finger daubers. I like those for when I'm trying to get into a small space. But the small blending brushes and foams aren't really small enough to get in tiny spaces sometimes, so those finger daubers are really nice to have on hand. So now the other thing is your ink pad makes a difference. Not so much the brand of ink or the kind of ink. It matters whether your ink pad is inked enough. So if your ink pad's a little dry, it is not going to give you a nice blend, so you'll want to ink it up. If your ink pad is brand new, it's going to be kind of juicy and you're going to pick up a ton of ink and get a really saturated color. So I recommend smushing the ink from your ink pad onto a clear block or your craft mat and then picking it up with your blender tool from there so you don't start out with way too much ink. So just to show you how I get my rainbow with 3 colors, I'm using these distress oxides. I always start with my yellow because that's the one that's going to blend with the red and the blue. So ideally I'd like even bands of all of them. That never happens for me. I always either don't make my yellow wide enough and then I lose my yellow completely, or I make it too wide, which I may do here. You'll see, you'll have to decide. And as I put my yellow on, I try to lighten it along the edges where it's going to blend with the other 2 colors. I do pull in a piece of paper to put my hand on because I'm messy and I don't want to mess up and get fingerprints in my blend. So I did the mustard seed first, made it nice and wide so I had room to blend on each end. Then I'm using the candied apple, and once I put that down and blended some of it into that yellow, I picked up my yellow brush again and I just go over my the line between the yellow and the red until I get that line goes away. And if you don't like your blend, keep going, add some more ink, and just keep going till you get the blend that you love. So here I'm using Blueprint Sketch, and you can see the nice green developing. I'm going to pick up that yellow and I'm going to smooth out that line between the blue and the yellow and just blend until that goes away and it looks like it's tapering off nicely. So I'll just blend it over top of the yellow in the center again to brighten that up a little bit. Now, if you really want a bright green and a bright orange, pull out a green and an orange. Do your blending of the yellow and the blue first to get a green started, and then put your green over top of that. I just blend them together like this. My table is small, so having just the 3 ink pads works better for me. It just gets to be too much on my table. So I'm trying to create a little bit of purple at the very bottom there with the red and the blue. And you can see as this dries, that will dry even smoother. Here's the point where you would want to spritz it if you wanted to and give it a little bit of distress look. I spritz it and then blot it up if I want that look. But I'm going to leave this just like that. And I'm going to let that sit. I'll pull that back out later to compare to a couple of the other things that I'm going to do. So I'm going to keep these same 3 colors out, and I'm going to pull out the Cascading Dots stencil. The physics teacher, oh no, not the Cascading Dots. This is the Skewed Dots. The physics teacher in me loves this one, the Skewed Dots. And I'm going to like make sort of a diagonal blend. So again, I'm using that mustard seed and making it nice and wide. And then I'm just going to add that blueprint sketch, and I'm going to overlap a couple of rows of the yellow, and I try to make the edge rows lighter than the rows that are going to be just pure yellow. So I'm going over that, and I'm getting a nice green mixed in there. And you saw me pull my yellow blending tool out and go back over the blue lines or where the green is. And I'm doing the same thing here with the candied apple. Now I'm just blending that orange a little bit, the orange stripes a little bit, just to make it a nice smooth blend. Isn't that cool? I love that effect. I think that is really fun. And stencils are a great way to create beautiful backgrounds, because I think they're one of the most cost-effective tools that we have, because ink blending is the least of what we can do with them. We can do so many things with those stencils, and it makes it a lot of fun. Now let me show you the Color Hive neon inks, and I'm going to be using Raw Skirt, California Love, and Acid Wash here. And I do start out with the California Love. I love how bright these inks are, and I'm going to do the same thing I did the first time and just make this a little bit wider. And then I'm going to pull out the roller skates, and I'm pulling out all of my wood handles here, and I will blend this with my yellow right into the yellow, so I get that band of orange, and go up into the yellow a little bit because I want a nice band of orange there. And again, if you want it to be more orange or a brighter orange, pull out the outrageous. That will give you a beautiful bright orange. I like creating just the rainbow with just the 3 colors. Then I don't have so many lines to blend, for one thing, actually. And I'll just flip this over and do the acid wash on the bottom. I'm looking for the last free blending tool I have there. And should I have done that on the manila tag? No, but I know that this blends well enough to get rid of that. And again, if you want to avoid fingerprints, this is just a piece of copy paper. Everybody has scrap paper sitting on their desk, or a post-it note or something like that. Even a paper towel works well to hold it down for your hands. So it's a good way to prevent getting fingerprints. I'm just wiping off my yellow a little bit because it does have some of the red in it. So I just wipe that on the scrap paper. And again, I'm going back over that line between the blue and the green a couple times. I go back and forth between the blue blending tool and the yellow blending tool until I get the blend that I want. And that's going to complete this. So I would love to have you give this video a thumbs up and follow me on social media. You can find me at stampingimperfection.com and Stamping Imperfection on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. So thank you so much for watching, friends. I hope you are getting a lot out of Inktoberfest 2021.